I'm the one who made the crude joke about virgins being terrible in bed, and now everyone at the wedding thinks I divorced my husband because he wouldn't sleep with me. That's the story making rounds on social media, whispered between my former friends, dissected in group chats I'm no longer part of. Here's what kills me. I deserve some of the blame, but not for the reasons they think. My sister won't return my calls. My mother asked if I've always been this shallow. During our last conversation 3 weeks ago, the man I married, the one whose faith I claim to respect, filed a statement with our church that painted me as someone who seduced him into marriage under false pretenses, then abandoned him when he held firm to his convictions. I'm losing family, community, and any claim to being a decent person, all because nobody knows what actually happened in that marriage. I'm going to walk you through every single thing I did, including the part that makes me look worse than their version ever could. There's a detail about our wedding night that I've never told anyone, something that changes this from a story about sexual incompatibility into something far uglier. By the end, you'll understand why I can't defend myself publicly, even as my reputation burns to ash. I met Daniel at a nonprofit fundraiser where I was volunteering to pad my resume, if I'm being honest. 28 years old. Working in marketing. Definitely not looking for anything serious after a string of relationships that fizzled around the 6-month mark. He organized the entire event. This tall, earnest guy who actually teared up during the speech about clean water access in rural communities. Everyone else was networking. He was genuinely moved. We talked for 3 hours after the event ended. He walked me to my car, asked for my number, then texted me before I'd even driven home. Tonight reminded me why I do this work. Thank you for helping. It was sincere in a way that felt foreign to me, like he existed in a different emotional register than the guys I usually dated. Our first actual date, he mentioned his faith within the first 20 minutes. I should probably tell you up front, I'm pretty serious about my religion. It shapes most of my decisions. I nodded, sipped my wine, asked interested questions about his church. I wasn't religious myself, but I dated a Catholic guy once he'd worked around it. How different could it be? I'm also waiting until marriage, he said, meeting my eyes directly. I know that's not common anymore, but it's important to me. I wanted to be honest from the start. I should have felt something then. Doubt, incompatibility, a fundamental mismatch in values. Instead, I felt intrigued. Every guy I dated lately treated sex as an expectation by date 3. Daniel's conviction seemed refreshing, almost exotic. I respect that, I told him, and I meant it, or thought I did. The sex thing didn't seem like a big deal at first. We spent months getting to know each other in ways I'd never bothered with before. Long conversations, actual dates, instead of just meeting up late night, meeting each other's families. His parents welcomed me warmly, despite my obvious lack of religious background. My mother loved how polite he was, how he helped clear dishes without being asked. 6 months in, we were serious. A year in, we were talking about forever. He'd hold me, kiss me, but always pulled back before things went too far. I want to, he'd whisper against my neck. God, I want to. But this matters to me. Can you understand? I said yes every time, even as frustration built. Even as I started wondering what was under those clothes, whether we'd be compatible in that way, whether waiting was romantic or just impractical. At a friend's bachelorette party, 18 months into dating Daniel, the conversation turned to sex. Someone mentioned their boyfriend's lack of experience, how she'd basically had to teach him everything. Virgins are so boring in bed, she laughed, like training a puppy. And I buzzed on champagne, feeling bold, wanting to seem worldly, said, God, right? Virgins bore me to tears. Give me someone who knows what they're doing. Everyone laughed. The conversation moved on. I forgot about it immediately. I forgot about it until 2 days before my wedding, when Daniel's sister pulled me aside at the rehearsal dinner. "I heard about your comment," she said quietly. "The one about virgins. At that party." My stomach dropped. Someone at the bachelorette party knew someone in Daniel's family. Small city, interconnected social circles, and my thoughtless joke had traveled straight to the people who mattered most. "Does Daniel know?" I managed. "Not yet," she said. "I wanted to talk to you first." "Did you mean it?" I could have come clean then. Should have. Instead, I lied. "Of course not. It was just drunk girl talk, being crude for laughs. I love Daniel exactly as he is." She studied me for a long moment, then nodded. "Good. Don't mention this to him. It would hurt him right before the wedding, and if you're saying it meant nothing, there's no point." I agreed immediately, grateful to avoid the conversation. I told myself she was right. Why upset him over a stupid joke? It meant nothing. I loved him. We were getting married in 2 days. But here's the thing I'm not proud of. Part of me had meant it. Not cruelty, not the dismissiveness, but the underlying anxiety about sexual compatibility. I'd been wondering for months what our first time would be like, whether I'd have to hide disappointment, whether he'd be hurt by the comparison to my previous partners. The joke had bubbled up from a real place of doubt, and I'd never examined it honestly. The wedding was beautiful. Daniel cried during his vows. I cried during mine, though now I wonder what I was really crying about, joy or the pressure of all these witnesses to a commitment I hadn't fully interrogated. Our families beamed. The reception was perfect. We drove to the hotel giddy with champagne and celebration, and I genuinely believed everything would be fine. In the hotel room, Daniel was nervous, sweet, fumbling, clearly terrified of doing something wrong. I tried to be gentle, to guide things, but I could feel my own frustration mounting. This was our wedding night. It should feel passionate, overwhelming, right? Instead, it felt like a careful choreography where neither of us knew the steps. Halfway through, he stopped. "Am I doing this wrong?" he asked, vulnerability written across his face. And instead of reassuring him, instead of being kind, I hesitated, just for a second. But he saw it. He saw my moment of doubt, the flash of disappointment I couldn't quite hide. "I'm boring you," he said quietly. "You're bored." "No," I protested. But the damage was done. He could see the truth in my eyes. The same truth that had been in my joke at that bachelorette party. He pulled away, sat on the edge of the bed with his back to me. "Daniel, did you make a joke about virgins being boring?" he asked. "At your friend's party?" My heart stopped. "Who told you?" "My sister, just now, in a text congratulating us. She said she was glad we worked through it, that you'd explained it was just a joke." His voice was completely flat. "Except you never told me about it at all." I should have apologized. Should have explained, groveled, done anything to fix the moment. Instead, I got defensive. It was a stupid joke. It didn't need anything. Then why hide it? He turned to face me, and I'd never seen him look at me like that, like I was a stranger who'd betrayed him. "Why not tell me yourself if it was so meaningless?" "Because I knew you'd overreact," I snapped. "Like you're doing right now." We spent our wedding night in separate beds, him on the couch, me crying into hotel pillows. In the morning, he was distant but polite. We went through the motions of our honeymoon, taking pictures for social media, pretending everything was fine. But in private, there was a wall between us that hadn't existed before. A week after we returned, I tried to initiate sex again. "We need to work past this," I said. "We're married now." Daniel looked at me like I'd suggested something obscene. "I don't want pity sex from someone who finds me boring." "I never said you were boring." "You didn't have to say it." I felt it. On our wedding night, I felt exactly how disappointed you were. The fight escalated. I accused him of being oversensitive. He accused me of never really accepting his values. We both said things designed to wound, and we succeeded. He slept in the guest room that night, and the night after, and the night after that. Here's where I made everything worse. I called my best friend to vent. told her the whole story. The joke, the wedding night, Daniel's overreaction. I painted myself as the victim of his religious hang-ups, his inability to move past one thoughtless comment. "Girl, you deserve better," she said. "You shouldn't have to tiptoe around someone this sensitive." Her validation felt good. It felt like permission to be angry instead of guilty. I started sharing the story with other friends, always framing it as Daniel's problem, his insecurity, his failure to communicate before marriage, about how seriously he'd take any perceived slight. Within 2 weeks, the narrative was set among my social circle. I'd married a man who couldn't handle adult relationships, who was punishing me for a joke, who was using his faith as a weapon to make me feel guilty about my sexual history. None of them knew about the hesitation on our wedding night, the look on my face that had confirmed his worst fears. I'd edited that part out, made myself the wronged party. Daniel found out through a mutual friend that I'd been talking about our problems. "You're telling everyone I'm the issue here?" he asked, making me sound like some kind of fundamentalist controlling your life. "You are controlling my life," I shot back. "You won't even touch me because of one stupid comment." "It's not about the comment anymore," he said, and his voice was so tired. "It's about the fact that you meant it, that you look at me and wish I was someone else, someone with more experience. And instead of being honest about that, you're making me the villain to all your friends." "Maybe you are the villain," I said. "Maybe this whole waiting until marriage thing was a red flag I should have paid attention to." I watched something break in his face. "Then why did you marry me?" I didn't have a good answer. The truth that I'd loved the idea of him, the stability and kindness he represented, without fully considering the practical reality of our differences, seemed too cruel to speak aloud. So I said nothing, and my silence was worse than any words. He moved out 3 days later. Stayed with his parents, told them we needed space. I told my friends he'd abandoned me over nothing, that his religious extremism had poisoned our marriage. The story spread. People took sides. Social media lit up with vague posts about supporting friends through difficult times and standing firm in your values. His family stopped speaking to me. His friends sent messages ranging from disappointed to outright hostile. My friends rallied around me, reinforced my narrative, assured me I dodged a bullet by finding out now how incompatible we were. I convinced myself they were right, that I was the victim here, that Daniel's inability to forgive one joke and one moment of hesitation was the real problem. I filed for annulment, citing irreconcilable differences. He didn't contest it. At my cousin's wedding, 4 months into our separation, I'd had too much to drink. The bride's friends were gossiping about bad relationships, failed marriages, sexual incompatibility. And I, wanting to feel seen, wanting validation, wanting to prove I was the fun one, the cool one, made another joke. Honestly, virgins bore me. I tried to make it work, but life's too short for bad sex. Everyone laughed. Someone posted it on Instagram stories, just text. No attribution, but recognizable to anyone who knew my situation. Overheard at the wedding, with a string of crying laughing emojis. Daniel's best friend saw it. Sent it to Daniel, who forwarded it to our church mediator. We'd been required to do counseling before the annulment could be finalized, with a simple message: "This is who I married. Someone who respects me so little that she makes public jokes about our intimate life at family events." The mediator called me in, showed me the post, asked if I'd said it. I could have denied it, could have claimed someone misheard, that it was taken out of context. Instead, I doubled down. I'm allowed to process my failed marriage however I need to. If that includes being honest about our sexual incompatibility, that's my right. "You understand this will be included in the church's documentation?" she said. "Daniel has filed for the annulment on the grounds that you entered the marriage without truly accepting his faith and values. This statement supports his case." "Fine," I said. "Let's just get this over with." I didn't think about the consequences. didn't consider that church documentation would be shared with both families, that Daniel's parents would see proof of my disrespect for their son, that my own mother, who'd always loved Daniel, would be copied on statements describing my pattern of mockery regarding my spouse's religious convictions. The annulment was finalized within 2 weeks, faster than I'd expected. I was relieved initially, free, single, ready to move on. I went out with friends, drank too much, flirted with strangers, tried to prove I was fine. Then the social fallout began. My sister called first. Mom showed me the church documents. Please tell me you didn't actually say those things about Daniel at a family wedding. That's not what happened. Then what did happen? Because the story I'm hearing is that you never respected his faith. You made fun of him to your friends, and you're trying to make him sound like the bad guy for having boundaries. I tried to explain. The wedding night, his distance, his refusal to work through our problems. She listened in silence, then said, "So he wasn't experienced enough for you, and instead of being patient or kind, you made him feel worthless. And now you're upset he didn't want to stay married to someone who made him feel that way?" The line went dead. She hasn't taken my calls since. My friends started pulling back next. The ones who supported me initially, who'd agreed Daniel was being unreasonable. Apparently more details had emerged from Daniel's friends, from church members, from people who'd witnessed my comments at various events. The full picture painted me as someone who'd mocked my husband's faith and inexperience repeatedly, publicly, while playing the victim when he withdrew. "I feel like you didn't tell us the whole story," one friend said over coffee. "You made it sound like he was punishing you for nothing, but you actually did say cruel things about him, didn't you? Multiple times." "They were jokes." "Were they, though?" She stirred her coffee slowly. "Or were they how you really felt, dressed up as humor so you could deny it later?" I couldn't answer. Sitting there, hearing my own defense strategy laid bare, I realized how hollow it sounded. How many times had I claimed something was just a joke, when confronted with my own cruelty? The Instagram post about the wedding comment went semi-viral in our extended social network. People who'd never met me were weighing in on whether I was a villain or just honest, whether Daniel was too sensitive or rightfully hurt. Someone created a poll. Is it okay to joke about your spouse's sexual inexperience at family events? 68% said no. My professional life took a hit. I worked in marketing for a company that valued brand reputation and personal integrity. My boss called me in after someone forwarded him the social media discourse. My full name attached to screenshots of my various comments about Daniel. "This isn't a good look," he said carefully. "We represent family-oriented brands. Having an employee whose failed marriage is playing out publicly with this kind of content reflects poorly on the company. It's my personal life, which you made public multiple times at multiple events." He slid a printout across the desk, screenshots from Instagram, Facebook, someone's Twitter thread about religious incompatibility in modern marriage that used my situation as a case study without my permission, but with enough identifying details that everyone knew it was me. I wasn't fired, but I was encouraged to take some personal time while the buzz died down. Company code for disappear until you're not embarrassing us anymore. Daniel, meanwhile, was handling everything with the same quiet dignity he'd always shown. He didn't post about our annulment, didn't badmouth me publicly. The only statement I heard about came from a friend of a friend. When someone asked him what happened, he said, "We weren't compatible. I hope she finds happiness." Made me look worse. The more I tried to justify myself, to explain my side, the more pathetic I seemed compared to his silence. People started saying things like, "He's too good for her," and "She never deserved someone that kind." My mother stopped calling. When I finally drove to her house to confront her, she let me in, but didn't offer coffee, didn't hug me hello. "I'm ashamed of you," she said simply. "Not because your marriage failed, because of how you treated someone who loved you and how you're acting now that he's gone. You don't understand. I understand that you made vows in front of God and family, then mocked those vows at parties. I understand that a good man tried to build a life with you, and you repaid him with contempt." Her voice cracked. "I raised you better than this, or I thought I did." That conversation happened 3 months ago. We haven't spoken since. The worst part isn't the social isolation or the damage to my reputation. It's the creeping realization that everyone else might be right. That I did enter that marriage without fully accepting who Daniel was. That I loved the image of us, the stable, kind man who adored me, without considering whether I could actually respect someone with so little sexual experience. I've tried to date since the annulment. Met a guy at a bar, went home with him, had exactly the kind of experienced, passionate sex I'd been missing. I thought it would feel validating, like proof I'd made the right choice leaving Daniel. Instead, I cried in the shower afterward, overwhelmed by a loneliness I couldn't name. The guy texted later, "You okay? You seemed sad." I never responded. How do you explain that you're mourning a marriage you destroyed, while simultaneously believing you were right to destroy it? Daniel got engaged last month. I heard through the social media grapevine mutual friends posting congratulations, his sister sharing a photo of him, and a woman I'd never seen. She's beautiful in an understated way, smiling at him like he hung the moon. The caption on his sister's post, "So grateful he found someone who cherishes him exactly as he is." The implication was clear. I hadn't cherished him. I'd tried to change him, mock him into becoming someone different, then abandoned him when he wouldn't transform into my ideal partner. I wanted to feel angry, jealous, something hot and justified. Instead, I just felt hollow. He'd moved on, found someone who presumably shared his values, who wouldn't make jokes at his expense, who could wait without complaint, and enter marriage without doubts. I'm still alone, still dodging calls from family members, still seeing former friends cross the street to avoid talking to me, still carrying the weight of knowing I hurt someone genuinely good because I was too shallow to appreciate what I had. Here's the detail I've never told anyone. The thing that makes me irredeemable on our wedding night. When Daniel asked if he was boring me, I almost said yes. The word was in my mouth, ready to be spoken. I wanted to say it, to wound him, the way I felt wounded by the awkwardness of the moment, by the disappointment of reality not matching fantasy. I didn't say it, but he saw it in my face anyway. That moment of cruelty I almost unleashed but held back, he saw it, felt it, knew exactly what I was thinking. And instead of apologizing, instead of acknowledging that impulse and rejecting it, I spent our entire brief marriage defending my right to have thought it. That's the thing I can't say in my defense. That when I claim my jokes were meaningless, I'm lying. They weren't jokes. They were truths I was too cowardly to own directly, dressed up as humor so I could deny them when confronted. I did think he was boring. I did resent his inexperience. I did wish he was someone else. And he deserved so much better than someone who would marry him while wishing he was different. I'm telling this story now because yesterday, the annulment was officially recognized by the state. 1 year of marriage erased, legally speaking, like it never happened. I got the paperwork in the mail, signed by both of us, stamped and sealed. Evidence that we tried to build something and failed. Daniel's signature was the same careful script he'd used on our marriage license. Neat, deliberate, the handwriting of someone who takes things seriously. My signature was a scrawl, impatient even in that moment, rushing through the formality to get to whatever came next. Looking at those two signatures side by side, I saw our entire relationship distilled into ink on paper. He'd approached us with care and intention. I'd approached us like an interesting experiment that I could abandon when it stopped being fun. Everyone thinks they know why our marriage failed. They think it's about sex, or religion, or fundamental incompatibility. And those things are part of it, sure. But the real reason is simpler and uglier. I wasn't capable of loving someone without trying to change them. I couldn't accept Daniel as he was faithful, inexperienced, sincere, because those qualities didn't fit the fantasy partner I'd constructed in my head. So I made jokes. I mocked him to friends. I let my disappointment show on what should have been one of the most intimate nights of our lives together. And when he pulled away, because of course he pulled away, who wouldn't? I blamed him for being too sensitive, too rigid, too damaged by his faith to handle an adult relationship. I destroyed my marriage and my reputation because I couldn't admit I was wrong. Because admitting I was wrong meant acknowledging that I'd hurt someone who'd done nothing but love me. It meant facing the fact that I'm the kind of person who treats people as projects to be fixed, rather than humans to be cherished. I don't know if I'm actually sorry, or if I just regret the consequences. I don't know if I would have acted differently with a second chance, or if this is just who I am, someone who needs to win, to be right. Even when being right costs everything that matters. The annulment papers are on my coffee table. I should file them away, move forward, start fresh. But I keep looking at Daniel's signature, at the care he took even in ending things, and I wonder if I'll ever be capable of that kind of grace. If I'll ever value someone else's dignity over my own need to be understood, to be seen as the victim, to avoid blame. My sister thinks I'm shallow. My mother thinks I'm cruel. My former friends think I'm a cautionary tale about what happens when you marry someone you don't truly respect. And Daniel thinks I'm someone who couldn't love him as he was. They're all right. Every single one of them. And I'm the only one who seems surprised by that truth. So yes, I told him virgins bore me, and he revealed he was waiting for marriage. We married anyway, and now the annulment is finalized. My family won't speak to me, and I'm alone with the knowledge that I could have prevented all of this by simply being honest with him, with myself, with everyone about who I actually am and what I'm actually capable of giving. I'm still not sure I'm capable of that honesty. Even now, typing this out, part of me wants to soften the edges, to explain why my behavior made sense in the moment, to find justifications that make me more sympathetic. The impulse to defend myself is so strong, it's almost physical. But here's the thing I'm learning. Too late to matter sometimes. There is no defense. Sometimes you hurt people because of your own limitations, and the right thing to do is acknowledge it without caveat or excuse. I hurt Daniel because I couldn't love him as he was. That's the whole story. Everything else is just noise I created to avoid facing that simple, terrible truth. The annulment papers sit on my coffee table. Tomorrow I'll file them away and try to move forward. But tonight, I'm sitting with the reality of who I am and what I've done, without jokes or deflections or claims that I was misunderstood. I was understood perfectly. That's the problem. Everyone saw exactly who I was, and they found me wanting. Maybe that's the beginning of change. Or maybe it's just another story I'm telling myself to avoid the harder truth that I haven't changed at all. And I'm not sure I want to. Because changing would mean admitting that Daniel deserved better. That his new fiancé is better. That I wasted something precious because I was too proud to admit I was wrong. And even now, even after everything, that admission sticks in my throat like a stone I can't quite swallow. So judge me. Tell me I'm exactly as shallow and cruel as everyone else thinks. Tell me I got what I deserved. You'd be right. And maybe hearing it from strangers will finally make it real in a way it hasn't been yet. Even with my family's silence and my mother's shame and the careful script of Daniel's signature on our annulment papers. Maybe that's why I'm telling this story at all, not to defend myself, but to hear the verdict I already know is coming. to make the judgment official, documented, real. To finally stop pretending there's another side to this story that would make me look better. There isn't. This is it. I'm the villain, and the annulment is final. And Daniel has moved on to someone who can love him properly. And I'm here, alone, still trying to decide if I'm actually sorry or just sorry I got caught.